This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles, on the Rockstar Radio Network. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money, and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author You and The Book Shepherd on the Rockstar Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
So, not sure about how you all are doing with the polar vortex, but some of us are thawing out. We've actually have the sun out in Colorado, where I'm based, and I've been amazed by some of the photos, especially the ice bubbles that are floating around. They're extraordinarily cool. Well, here's what we're going to be doing today. So your copy doesn't get iced. So your covers don't get iced. So a variety of things don't get in trouble, which are just key to the creation of not only your book, but the copy that you do, your articles you do, your blogs you do, really part of your branding that you're all about. And it's really what my guest for the hour calls his key message copy platform. So we're going to be jumping into that as we go along, because it's absolutely critical to understand that what you write has so much to say about really who you are. And I'm guilty. Sometimes those typos get away, or sometimes I'm moving so fast that I don't catch something because my brain says it's fixed anyway, and I just don't. With we is going to be Casey Demchak, and Casey has an amazing background. He's an author himself. He wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Writing and Essential Sales Writing Secrets. He's participated in a variety of other chapters. He's one of our go-to people and even for our own work. And he is written several workbooks for authors and business people, and the variety to work on. And he's also very tuned into about brand imaging with what goes around in the copy. And you can find him at Casey Demchak, DEMCHAK.com. But we're going to talk about how to really take your copy and what you do so that it is absolutely critical, the way it goes across everything that you are presenting to the public, whether it's on the internet, whether it's in a written, printed format that's out there, actually what comes across out of your mouth. So with that, let's welcome Casey. Hi, Casey. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Judith. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm really actually loving warming up here a little bit.
Yes, me too.
It's been nippy. Casey, Let's talk about what this thing is called a key message copy platform that you like to talk about. And why do authors need one?
A key message copy platform, to put it simply, is a central messaging document where you want to develop and house all of your key marketing messages for your book. And once it's completed, it then serves as a springboard for creating your website pages, your sales sheets, social media tweets, sales landing pages for your book. Any marketing piece you want to create for your book, instead of creating it on a make-it-up-as-you-go basis, you want to start with a key message copy platform. And the reason you want to do that is because when you put out numerous different marketing pieces, you want to have a very consistent voice and message within all of your marketing materials, because repetition builds reputation. So you want your marketing messages to be very consistent, and it's extremely important to do that these days when there's so many more marketing channels, digital and traditional, whereas it used to be limited to more traditional marketing channels. Now with social media and online tools, there's so many more ways to get your message out. But there's so many other messages out there that in order for your messages to make an impact, you need to be very consistent and persistent. And the best way to do that is to work from a copy platform.
And so if I was to try to visualize what this document would look like, is it like an Excel spreadsheet or what would it be?
No, it's a Word document. It's strictly for you, so it's not something you're going to be giving out to people. And I would say for authors, just having a nice 4, 5, 6 page copy platform, and I typically divide them into sections, and we can go over what some of the sections would be. But it's just, think of it as a Word document, and it's something fluid. I think it's really good to work on it while you're working on your book, and you just kind of refine it as you go. And so, you can do it primarily with bullet points, whatever format you're comfortable with. I've written a bunch of them, and I don't think no two have been set up exactly the same way, but basically a Word document, which is something writers should be very comfortable with.
So it's simply they can access, copy, paste, move it around, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so that when if you're going to put together, let's say you complete your copy platform, and you've got a nice 4, 5, 6 page Word document. So when you want to put together your web pages, you've got messaging you can draw from. You can cut and paste it, but typically for the different pieces you do, you're going to edit it and massage it a little bit. But then if you go to do a sales sheet, let's say, or even your back book cover, inside flap, you're going to be working with very consistent messaging. So when you're done, let's say, over the course of marketing your book over several months, when you lay out the different pieces you've worked on, if you've drawn from your key message copy platform, you'll find that your messaging is very consistent and persistent. If you make things up as you go, put those pieces together one at a time on a as you need them basis, and then 6 months later look at all of them, most likely the messaging is going to be kind of inconsistent and choppy.
So when you're talking about your key message platform, then it will obviously have in keywords that you have done your research on to make sure that they are the grabbers and the connectors with who you're trying to reach out also within the social media realm.
Yeah, you want to have your keywords in there, and you want to have them blended artfully within your copy. You don't want to obviously have it look like you're just forcing a bunch of keywords, but your keyword research, hashtag, but I think even more importantly is just the way you talk about your book, the marketing messages, the voice you choose, kind of the conversational tone that you use to talk about your book, or that pitch you give people. You want all of that to be very consistent throughout the course of your marketing, and it's just so much easier to do if you're drawing from a central messaging document.
So when you're talking about that kind of thing, the pitching and the consistency and all that, then it does tie in perfectly with what I was saying. With it does cement that branding that you're trying to be out there. Would that be true? Yeah. Right.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, just think about a lot of consumer products. Major brands. When they start a campaign, it has a very coherent look and feel. The messaging is very consistent, and the way you position it, for example, there's a lot of, let's say, kind of self-help books out there. Some of them are positioned themselves as kind of the more high-end Dr. So-and-so deep kind of, book where it's much more high-end. It's going to a crowd that is very well-read. And then there's other self-help books that, it's the practical guide for the everyday guy and person who has, simple words, solutions in simple words, kind of for every man type of writing style. So you want your messaging to help position your book. And it's just so much easier to be consistent with that when your messaging is consistent, obviously.
Well, that makes sense. So when you have worked with other authors, I usually end up with asking questions, but I think I'm going to throw it out in the beginning. What are the mistakes that are consistently done, Casey, here? The biggest mistakes I see are sometimes writers will focus a lot on what their book is about, but not as much on what people are going to get out of their book. You really want to focus on emotional benefits or the what's in it for me aspect of a book. So it isn't always, here's what the book is about.
but here's what you're really going to get out of it. And depending on the type of book it is, you want to ask yourself, what pain point am I kind of helping my audience with? How am I satisfying them? What are they really going to get out of my book? So the biggest mistake I see is writers who just talk about what a book is about and not so much what people really get out of the book. And that's how you hook people, is through emotional marketing messages.
Yeah, that's the same thing that we go over all the time with how to pitch your book and what it's about, that they don't get that. They want to go in actually deep into the belly button of how they created their book, which most people don't want to hear about right now, because they want to know how this is going to kiss them and make them better.
Yeah, and then, another mistake I see is writers often are too modest to kind of separate themselves from a lot of the clutter out there. You really need to be strong in your convictions. So when you talk about your book, you really want to come across as a thought leader, a voice of authority, and don't say things or write things like, I believe that this or that. You just want to say, make a very definitive statement. You don't want to water it down with, well, I believe and I think, or in my opinion. Be very straightforward. Don't say, in my opinion, I think it's green. Say, it is green. Have a voice that stands out. And I think a good way to tell if you're doing your job on that is if people disagree with you, you're being somewhat provocative and creating a discussion, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been amused when people will say, in my humble opinion. And I'm thinking,
don't be humble. Be humble, but be authoritative. Take a stand and have convictions.
Versus in my outrageous opinion, or in my grossly incorrect opinion, or fill in the blank. All right.
Yeah.
What other?
I'm not going to.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not going to say, gee, in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to create a key message copy platform for. You need to create a key message copy platform.
You got
no
it.
doubt
All right.
about it.
We'll be right back with lots more from Casey Kemchek about key message platforms.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Is there a book in you or another? Author U will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. Author U brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author U's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author U is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join Author U today through its website at authoru.org. Follow Author U on Twitter at Author U and on Facebook at Author U, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. Author U, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
Sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The free terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract. All equipment is free. Extremely low rates and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The Free Terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both Author U and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-6828 and tell him you want the no-contract Author U deal.
Every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, Casey and I were talking off the air about some of the gremlins, computer gremlins that were out here during the holidays. He lost a couple of systems, computers, and I had one go wacko. And everyone I've talked to, it's like, is Mercury in retrograde again? That's what usually people say, but which I'm not sure about. But anyway, it's been a technology challenge. Casey, we're certainly focusing on the key message copy platform and why it's critical and important for the author. And you mentioned sections of it, and so let's talk about the sections. Identify them. What goes in them?
The first section you want to have is a nice author biography. So you want to have a nice bio about yourself. In these days, kind of the old school, academic style bio or corporate style bio isn't. It's kind of going by the wayside a bit. You want to make your bios a little more passionate. You want to kind of speak in the first person and talk about what you're passionate about in your writing and why you write what you write and how you can be how you want to help people. So it's not, you can still have your background about how many books you've sold or your academic background and things you've been published in and things like that, but you really want to make sure that you're giving a heartfelt message about how what you're passionate about and how you can help people. You also want to have a nice little section, and this is just kind of an internal message, but write what is unique about you that you might be able to use to get the attention of the media. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're an author who has, a best-selling author and you've sold a whole gazillion books, right there you've got a hook. Here's why the media might be interested in me. But if it's your first book or second book or something, maybe there's something in your past that makes you interesting, something that you can use as an interesting anecdote or something about yourself that can help get attention for you. Mm-hmm. Then you want to have a nice description of your target audience. A lot of people fail to overdo that, but you want to really get clear on who's going to buy my book. Who am I really trying to appeal to? And then, of course, that will help you write your material towards that audience. But you want to get very clear on who your audiences. And then think about also a nice little section on the pain point your book addresses. And I use the word pain point as kind of an overall term. It may be the curiosity that your book addresses, or the passion, or the, does some other desire or something like that. But how is your book going to grab people? Like if you're writing romance novels, people tend to read lots of romance novels. If they read 5, they tend to read more because they, they're looking for some sort of emotional satisfaction. So get clear on, kind of the pain point or the curiosity or whatever that your book is going to address. And also add in your platform any kind of market research, facts and figures. This is a good place to put keywords and hashtags, things like that really apply to your book, or any statistics that you're going to be using a lot. That way they're always right at your fingertips. You also want to have a nice little section on what is your unique selling proposition. That would be kind of what is the one tentpole benefit about your book that you can really hang your hat on and build a campaign around. So if you're going to give a 20-second pitch about the benefit of reading your book, what would be that one main unique selling proposition? It's really good to have that identified. You also want to have a nice emotional selling proposition, which may be very similar to your unique selling proposition, but how are you going to grab people emotionally? Are you going to scare them? Are you going to enlighten them? Or are you going to make them feel passionate? Write a nice, your number one message that's built around the emotion that you're trying to generate.
Okay.
It's also good to write a nice product positioning statement. In that, again, I touched on that earlier, but how do you want your book to be perceived? Do you want it to be like the simple practical guide to accomplishing X, or do you want it to be the more intellectual, upscale, high-end book? So think about how you want people to perceive your book and write a nice statement about how you want it to be perceived, because that's going to influence your artwork. It's going to influence the conversational voice you use in your writing. Then you also want to have a nice section that includes a bunch of testimonials and reviews. You always want to have those on plan. And then pretty much the rest of your marketing platform is you just want to write a nice set of benefit-driven key messages about your book. And there's a way to go about doing that I could kind of give you some before and afters on if you'd like to hear that.
Oh, I'd love that. And I'm thinking as I'm writing down these sections as you're talking, if you've got something that you can publicly say or recently that you've worked on, or you could use as an example of an actual book, that would be, I think, great for people to understand. Okay, so what is a product position statement? Tell me so I know what it sounds like instead of describing.
Yeah, product positioning, kind of the way I always look at it is quadrants. There's like, a great way to explain product positioning is cars and beer. That's how I always explain it.
Okay.
You've never seen a guy wearing a suit and tie in a Budweiser commercial. It's blue collar guys after work in the pool hall, on the job site, very blue collar. Whereas you think of, Amstel Light or the old Heineken commercials, it was always the lawyers and doctors after work. Everybody was dressed very nice or something. So beer companies are really good at positioning their beer. It's like, all their ads, their colors, the way the bottle's designed, everything is, okay, this is the white collar beer or the blue collar beer. Cars have always been positioned the same way. Volkswagen is positioned as the cute, affordable, sporty little car as compared to a Mercedes-Benz. Cadillac has always been kind of the high-end establishment car, and in recent years they've tried to make themselves look more sporty. Kind of like, so think of cars and beer. They always figure out this is our crowd, and they position all their artwork and everything accordingly.
So you want to, as our listeners, they need to think, okay, if I'm looking up, I'm writing my book, I'm doing whatever, and I'm at a book signing or a celebration, and I look up and the absolutely ideal buyer is in front of me. what do they drive? Do they drive a Mercedes, BMW, Caddy, or do they drive a VW or a sports car? Or
you know, there was my mom used to read Irma Brombach books, I think was her name. You know, there were these and you know, her writing, it was very much geared towards kind of like, you know, mom's raising kids and here's what you go through. You know, and my mom used to really relate to her stuff. So her book was positioned towards kind of that, you know, the mom who has a couple kids in school and she's got to deal with running around to soccer games and all that. So, you know, her artwork, the conversational style was all geared towards that crowd. That was her market. Mm-hmm. Now, and basically those were kind of like, you know, humorous self-help books in a way. It's like, hey, here's somebody I can relate to, telling me how my life is. Whereas there's other, you know, self-help books, let's say Louise Hay books, you know, some of the Hay House books, they're going more towards a new age spiritual crowd. So they're written in a voice that appeals to that crowd. The artwork and everything else appeals to that crowd. So when you think of your book, you definitely want to think, how do I want people to perceive this? Am I kind of the witty, down-to-earth Irma Brombach, or more of the high-end Louise Hay kind of, you know, or somewhere in between, or... Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So it's always amazing me, Casey. I mean, you've been around authors now for a while, that when you ask them who their book is for, they stumble. And the unclarity is actually stunning to me many, many times, because they don't really think about it. Because one of the classic things is, well, it's for everyone. No, it's not. It's not. And I've always felt the more you niche yourself down, the bigger the opportunity that you can become the kingpin or queen pin in the pond as you go forward with that. It's absolutely critical. So, all right.
Oh, and
so we got,
I was gonna say, I can give you an example from my own writing. Years ago, I started writing a lot of how-to articles, and
okay, you know what? I'm going to ask you to hold that example, because we're going to go to our bottom of the hour break, and we'll come back and get that. So hold on to that, and then Nick Zellinger will join us for a couple of minutes with a hot tip for the new year with interior and exterior design.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers. Creating beautiful and well-made books, we're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title title, Enhancing the Promotion of Your Book During Infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Often we have one of our sponsors join us, and NZ Graphics has been with us from the get-go, and Nick Zellinger is with us with 3 hot tips for 2014 for authors and writers. What's up, Nick?
Hi, Judith. Happy New Year. Well, I've got 3 strong suggestions here. Number 3, I have 3 of them, but the first one is in authors' desire, is we call it rush to print. In other words, they really want to get copies out sooner than really they should be. I would suggest doing a short run of what we call ARC copies, and those are advanced reader copies. You can go to use a POD like CreateSpace or Snowfall Press or Lightning Source, whatever, get a small run that designates the book as an advanced reader copy that you can send out to 25, 50, 75 of your peers or people for advanced reviews and last-minute corrections, so that you don't get embarrassed by that you've ordered 5,000 books and you've had numerous misspellings that you didn't catch. So that would be a really good way to get your book out fast enough in a small quantity at least, but at least get some things corrected before you invest in a full print run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I will add on.
Let
me before you jump ahead, let me add on. One of our sponsors is Total Printing Systems. They do one of the best jobs of ARCs of any of the printers that I know. They're very fast. I mean, I've had people say to me, if my copies that are really printed would look this good, I'd be happy. So
that's true. They do a marvelous job. They're almost like their finished product right off the bat. Yeah.
So,
and then in that regards, if you when you are printing, when you're going away from POD and using something like Total Print Solutions or a traditional printer, I would consider upgrading your cover and adding French folds or flaps. And those are that gives your cover the look and feel of a dust jacket in a hardcover book without the cost of a hard cover book. And generally they're about 3.5 inches wide, but they give the feel. It's a very upgraded look to your cover, and it really you and I have had a number of authors that have taken that and used that. So it's a great way to really upsell your book.
Yeah, it does, and also it gives you more what we call real estate, that you as the cover designer can get a little bit more copy and spread it around a little bit, which is always better, and it gives that back flap as a good bio copy, which I think is good.
You've got more marketing landscape. And
it's a bookmark, and it acts as a bookmark, which is very cool.
That's very true. You can have them perfed and use them as bookmarks, so they're really great. So it's a really great look. And then number 1 is relates a little bit to what you and Casey have been talking about. When you are an author and you are working with a book designer, they're going to give you cover layouts. So when you get to that stage of critiquing your designs and deciding what cover is the right cover for you, it's a great idea, instead of being overwhelmed by all these great designs or underwhelmed, depending on who you're working with, but keep a copy of your key message copy platform in front of you and use that as a reference, and keep that there so that when you're critiquing these cover designs, you can ask your questions like, is that art, does that design reflect my message and my platform? So that you can be in line with your cover design can be in line with what your book is really all about.
Yeah, and of course it's helpful if you do know what that book's about. So you can.
Well, that's true. That's the first.
So you can
That's the
articulate
first
it
challenge.
to you. Yeah. And then I also would say in working with you as many times as I've had with book covers, and interior as well, is that a lot of times it takes a little bit of brewing for the right book cover to pop out. It's not going to be, rarely is it going to be on the first pass. At least that's my experience.
Very rarely, yeah. I mean, sometimes you're lucky, but most of the time it's a progression of work, and you may have an inkling of an idea, or that idea may take you another path, which also works too. So it's a process, and it's a collaboration for sure.
Mm-hmm, for sure. All right. Well, Happy New Year, and thank you for your tips. All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. So, Casey, we were talking about sections, and you were going to tell we were into beers and cars. And so we were going to do blue and white collar. So I think those actually are all critical things for everyone to think about. Is their reader a blue collar person or a red collar person, or are they a white collar person? And you really need to.
You really want to know your.
Absolutely.
You really want to know your target market.
You bet. And what about their sophistication level? Are they savvy? Are they intelligent? Are they educated? Or are they kind of the seat of the pants, and where have they come from? I think if you will put that together from the very beginning, it will make what Casey's talking about so much easier in this development. So you were going to share a story that you had, and an example.
I was, a good example of why you need to know your target market very well. And I can, from my own experience, several years ago, I started, when I wrote my first book, Essential Sales Writing Secrets, the reason I use the word sales writing, and I still do, is my books and ebooks are more geared towards small business owners who maybe can't hire a copywriter, so they have to write a lot of their own marketing materials. And I did some small business workshops early on where I promoted them as copywriting workshops. Now, the more corporate, marketing communications people who hire me, I mean, they know what a copywriter is and what a copywriter does. And when I did small business workshops, some of the people who came thought the workshop was going to be on trademarks and patents, copywriting. I went, oh, copyrights. And so they made it very clear to me that, we want to know about the term they used was sales writing, not copywriting. Marketing was fine, but, sales writing is a niche part of, copywriting is a niche part of marketing, but the term they related to was sales writing, not copywriting, because the copywriting confused them. So by knowing my target market, I started, titling articles and blogs and things accordingly. So you really need to know who's going to be reading your stuff so you can, make sure you got little things like that covered.
Exactly. And sometimes you may have to make up your own phrase that makes it fit, like your sales writing, which was what you did, which you absolutely knew it meant copywriting, but they didn't.
Right. And people would say to me, we want to know about that sales writing. How do I sell more stuff? To teach me about sales writing. So I went, sales writing it is.
Exactly. All right. So when you have that, one of the things I think a lot of people might wonder, well, so when do I do this? At what stage do I start thinking about this key message copy platform business? Do I do it before or after I finish the book?
I would suggest while you're writing the book, or even before you're writing the book. If you wait till you're completely done with the book, it might seem like an uphill slog. Like, I just wrote this book. I've got, I'm having the book laid out. I'm reviewing cover designs, and now I've got this big project on the side here. I have to create a marketing platform. Create it while you're working on the book. That way, it's something you can work on a little bit at a time. You can massage it and refine it as you go. And it's much easier to do that way because you can maybe pick 20, 25 minutes here and there to work on it. I had an interesting thing this last fall. I wrote a messaging platform for Peggy McCall, who was going to put out a new book, and I asked her if she had a copy of the book for me to look at, and she goes, no, I haven't written it yet. Let's do the marketing platform. So we wrote this whole marketing platform for her before she had written a word of the book. So you can actually write it before the book, because if you do, sometimes it might even help you and guide you. It might really help you get clear on what is my book really about and what am I really trying to get across.
So I guess for our listeners, if you ask the question, when do you start this, before, during, or after, the immediate response would be, you do it right now. And better answer is you do it before you even started the process. But no matter where you are in the process, if you haven't done it, the answer is now.
Do it now, yeah. And if you're just starting a book, I would say start it now. If you've already written a book, start it now. But in future books, write it. Write the first draft before you even write the book. And then while you're writing the book, you can always go back through it and be refining it, because you really want to massage it and refine it and get it down.
All right. So if you were, so there's kind of two ways to do this. You do it all yourself, correct? Or you engage someone to help you with it. I mean, I don't see any other ways to get around this. So what if someone has no plans to write it, to do their own marketing materials? I mean, is this different? Marketing materials, is this different from the platform?
Well, like I said earlier, the completed messaging platform is a springboard from which you can write all those materials. But if you decide, hey, I'm not going to write, I'm going to have somebody else write the marketing materials. That's just not my bailiwick. It's not what I want to do. I would still say write a messaging platform anyway. And since you're not going to write all the marketing materials, maybe that marketing platform doesn't have to be as refined and polished as it would be if you were going to write those marketing materials. But if you engage a copywriter, someone like myself, say, I want you to write my marketing materials, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, well, other than your book, giving me a copy of your book, what else you got? You got any 50-word descriptions, rough drafts of, a shot you took at writing a book cover? What do you got? I'm always, what can I get my hands on other than just the book? So if you even write a
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to have somebody else work on it, you still want to at least put together a nice rough draft of some kind of a messaging platform so that you can give it to the person who is going to write your marketing for you. Then they can take it and really give it a polish and do their magic. Exactly.
Exactly. So we're gonna take our final break. When we come back, I want Casey to focus on some hot copywriting tips in our last 12 and a half minutes with you. This is Judith Briles. You're listening to Author U, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Do you sell stuff? Do you want to sell books? Lots of them? If yes, you must take credit cards, the most widely used form of payment today. The free terminal has created a special program for your guide to book publishing listeners. No contract. All equipment is free. Extremely low rates and no termination fees ever. Contact Alan Dean at alan@thefreeterminal.com or call him at 303-668-6828. The free terminal has handled all credit card transactions for both Author U and Judith for over a year. Don't wait another day. Contact Alan at thefreeterminal.com or call 303-668-6828 and tell him you want the no contract Author U deal.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
With me is Casey Demchek, and Casey's a copywriting. He does coaching. He's inspirational. He gooses people really to stretch their thoughts into words that really hook and stay with them. And you can find him at Casey Demchek, and that's DEMCHAK.com. And you can follow him on Twitter at Casey Demchek. At the side. But I asked Casey before he came back if he could identify very quickly, before we get into some of these hot copywriting tips, some of the key emotional grabbers that people can tie in when people are asking you what your book does. And we were going to do some one words for you. So Casey, jump in here.
Some of the words I've jotted down, like romance and passion. People who read romantic books, one after the other, are looking for that romantic kind of heartwarming rush that they get from that. Another word is thirst. People who are reading informational books about a different a topic, they want to know as much as they possibly can about it. So the way you're grabbing them emotionally is you're satisfying a thirst. Another one is fear. A lot of people who read Stephen King novels, really why they want to read them, they want to curl up on the couch at night and get scared. Humor. Some people just at the end of the long, they love to laugh, so they're going to read a lot of different humorous books because they want to get a good chuckle. A lot of people read self-help books to avoid pain. Pain is a big thing. People want, how can I avoid pain? How can I feel better? So those are just some emotional grabbers, but always think about with your book, if it's a marketing book, it's going to help people make more money and they're going to feel better, so always think about there's always some way that your book can grab people emotionally, and you want to, really know that and build a lot of messaging around that.
So marketing and sales, go making more money. If that's what you want to do. If you want to show them how to do it.
Because it's like, you don't, like having a bunch of dirty dollar bills right in front of you doesn't do much for you, or looking at a number on a bank statement, but it's the way it makes you feel. Mm-hmm. Secure, it comes into security and safety and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So secure, safety, all those things. All right, great.
Yeah, it's all emotional.
Yeah, all emotional. And so if you, that goes back now to, we wrote back to that key message copy platform, that when you're putting that together, that the unique proposition that brings along is going to satisfy those emotions. Did I get that right? Did I hear the message?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. All right. Copywriting tips. What should our listeners be doing, looking for as this year rolls out?
I'll give you a few tips that really you can apply to any marketing piece you write, whether it's a web page, a sales page, a backbook cover. First of all, remember that your most valuable real estate is your headline. You want to have a good headline, and your headlines don't have to be zippy, witty, clever, sexy. The goal of a headline is to grab people, engage them, and drive them into your body copy. So they can be very simple headlines, benefit-driven headlines, maybe a thought-provoking question headline, something that gets people curious or engages them and drives them into your copy. So that can be something very simple. Another big writing tip is, before anybody reads your web page, your backbook cover, or anything else you write, the first thing they're going to do is glance at it. And when they glance at it, you want it to look easy to read, fast and easy to read. And you do that by using maybe a nice headline with a subhead. Then your body copy, your paragraphs, you want them to be very short, maybe 2 to 3 lines, even 1 line, and then have some action-oriented bullet points, then maybe a couple more lines of copy, another subhead headline. You really want to break things up so that it looks easy to read. You want to avoid having block paragraphs, a paragraph with 5 or 6 lines of dark copy. People just look at it and go, I really don't want to read that.
It's too much work.
Too much work. And it may be brilliant stuff in there. You can, I did some slides, I don't have them in front of me right now, in the past where I wrote something that looked very at-a-glance friendly, and then I took the exact same words and put it in a dark, chunky paragraph format, and I show it to the audience and say, which one you want to read? Well, they all picked the one that looked easy to read, and I said, well, they say the exact same thing. So people will, especially with web pages, if your web page just looks like it's going to be a chore to read, they just tune out.
I know that one of the things really got drilled into me, I wrote for 10 years for the business journals, and I learned to embrace a 1-line paragraph. It was a total different type of form of writing in many ways, but there is now, I get after authors for what I call paragraph perpetuity, and some of these paragraphs go on indefinitely. My God, I never think they're going to end. So that's one of the things that I do with authors' books when I'm working on them as a book shepherd, is I'm into the slash, not always burning, but just slashing and breaking them up.
Oh yeah, nobody's ever going to complain that your stuff's too easy to read. Nobody's going to, nobody's ever going to turn away because your stuff looks too easy to read. That's what I always tell people, and it doesn't mean you're less intellectual because your copy's easy to read. It means more people are going to read it, which is what you want.
So that really does come back into, now we're talking about a little layout type thing, but I had quite a heated argument with a client, just saying, she says, well, this is the way I like it. She's a very detailed, almost an engineering mind and all that. And I said, but what you are writing, your audience is not. And what you're failing to realize is you're not wanting to present as your audience wants to read things. And she just, critical.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to get through to people sometimes, is sometimes what you prefer is not always the best route to go. But you want to find out what works, which is sometimes different than what you prefer. I'll give you a quick example of that. Like those, if you go to a author a website where those pop-ups come up, they want you to sign up for their newsletter and get their free download, and these pop-ups come up, and a lot of people hate those, but you go to Marketing Sherpa or something like that, and those things work very well.
So you're saying use them. Are you saying use them versus not?
Use them. Yeah, no, I don't like them. I would say
I don't
use
either.
them.
Yeah,
nobody.
I
I haven't met anybody who likes them, but the conversion rates are great. It's
well,
interesting.
I guess I've always had the question. People say the conversion's great, but how many people leave or get tired? I mean, one of my pet peeves is I'm trying to read something and all of a sudden one of those suckers jumps up, and I don't know how to get rid of it. And sometimes in frustration, I just leave the website and never go back.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. And then what's cool about websites too now is the analytics on them are just unbelievable. You know, you can really get some detailed reports if you have a good web person, you know, about what pages people are going to and how much time they're spending on the page.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think things like WordPress actually tell you some of those things too, you know, from where they come from and where they hang out, how many opens and all those. All right, we have like 2 minutes left. Anything that you, when you're working, when you have an author working with you, is there a question that you wish that they would ask you that they don't think about asking?
You know, I always tend to have to ask them questions. And the biggest things I have to ask them are, what are people going to get out of your book? I wish more people could tell me that. So I guess instead of a question, be like, if there's something they could really tell me, what are people really going to get out of their book? That's a big one. The other thing I have to tell them quite a bit too is in their marketing materials, write very confident call to actions. Tell people what to do next. Don't assume they're going to take an action without you telling them to take it. If you want them to order your book, tell them to order your book or download your free material or something like that. But so be very definitive with call to actions and know what emotion you're trying to get out of people. So it's a little reversal on something I wish they would ask me. I would turn into, here's something that I wish they had more information about before we talked.
Mm-hmm. So it goes back to what I said earlier, and you and I have talked about how so few authors really think about who their reader is.
Oh yeah, sit down and write a nice detailed description of who your audience is. Do an exercise where that's a really important thing to do. Is who is my ideal person, or who is realistically who is my target audience, and write about them. Because you're going to want to gear your marketing material to them.
Perfect. Well, Casey, I want to thank you. With me has been Casey Demchak. You can find him if you need copywriting help. Casey's a master at it. His website's Casey Demchak, CHDEMCHAK.com. And thank you for being with us on Your Guide to Book Publishing. My pleasure, Judith. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun. Great. All right. So we'll be all with you next week.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles.